So with a week to go before the Iowa caucuses, it's undeniable that Bernie Sanders is surging. According to a new Emerson poll released just minutes ago, Bernie Sanders is up 8% to sit at 30 points. He's 9 ahead of Joe Biden, who's at 21 in second, and Amy Klobuchar, Elizabeth Warren, and Pete Buttigieg are sitting at 13, 11, and 10% respectively. Everybody else is in single digits. And for a variety of reasons, this is an extremely encouraging poll for Bernie Sanders. One of the key reasons is that he's the only one significantly moving in the upward direction. Everybody else in this poll is kind of stagnating. They're up a couple, they're down a couple, all within the margin of error. Only Pete Buttigieg is moving outside the margin of error, and that's because he's down 8 points, showing an utter collapse. Bernie is the only one who has an undeniable case that he's moving in the right direction. And this relates to the fact that Bernie Sanders is peaking at the exact right time. Almost all of the other frontrunners have been in better positions, according to Emerson, earlier in the primary process. Buttigieg, Warren, Biden, they've all been at higher points and are down now vis-a-vis those points. Bernie Sanders, according to Emerson, has never been higher in this primary process. Technically, you can say the same for Amy Klobuchar, but she's sitting below 15%. She's never really been seen as a top-tier candidate to win this caucus. And so among the people who at one point or another actually had a shot at winning this, only Bernie Sanders is peaking. And the reason Bernie Sanders is doing well here, there's many reasons, but the key reason is that he leads overwhelmingly on the key issue. And the key issue for Iowa caucus goers is healthcare. And on that question, Bernie gets 35% support, and Joe Biden is in second all the way back at 21. A 14-point lead for Bernie Sanders, showing that while he's not dominating in terms of overall support, he's not above 50% or 60% or anything like that, a clear plurality of people are lining up behind the man that supports Medicare for all. And Joe Biden, with his public option, is getting support, but he's all the way back 14 points behind Bernie. Elizabeth Warren, with her wishy-washy sort of Medicare for all, is tanking on the healthcare question and overall in this primary, showing that people want clarity and Bernie Sanders is giving it. And it's important to realize that Bernie at 35 on the healthcare question, again, the most important question, is polling above his overall support, which means that if Bernie Sanders gets secondary support, his clarity and strength in favor of Medicare for all might get some people to move to Bernie Sanders if they don't like their current choice anymore. And on the question of support, it has to be said that Bernie Sanders is being driven by absolute dominance from young people. Bernie Sanders is at 44%, and only Elizabeth Warren is above the single-digit threshold besides Bernie, and she's well back of Bernie. That's an incredible lead, and Bernie Sanders here, though he's not winning amongst older voters, is in second, and many of the earlier polls had Bernie winning among young people, but sort of well back in third or fourth among older voters. So the fact that Bernie is in a strong second among older voters here in Iowa is great news, because that means that when you factor in the dominance among young people, it could give Bernie Sanders a crucial edge. One other important factor here in this poll, but also beyond it, is the question of enthusiasm. Here, Bernie Sanders has very enthusiastic and dedicated supporters. When people are asked, how locked in are you to your particular first choice right now, Bernie leads on that question. And that's crucial because you don't want your supporters leaving you. You want other people coming to you in the final week. And while Bernie Sanders isn't the only one doing well on that particular question, he is leading, which is where you want to be as a frontrunner, knowing that you have a significant amount of your base locked into you. But beyond that, the caucus system rewards candidates that build enthusiasm and loyalty and fervency among their support base, because you don't just go to vote. You have to go, you have to sit there, you have to wait to be counted. Those people who support candidates below the 15% threshold will often then have a chance to go sit with another candidate or choose to go home. That's going to take some time. This means that it's not just a 20-30 minute commitment. You have to be there for hours in some cases. And I really do believe that Bernie Sanders' enthusiasm, the people who love Bernie and love his vision and are fighting for him and his vision for America, are going to be more enthusiastic than the people coming for Biden. And I really do believe that that means Bernie Sanders' support may be underestimated when it comes down to the fact that people have to go and stay for hours. That could give Bernie the edge of at least a couple percent when all is said and done. But before we get the red carpet out and say Bernie Sanders has got this locked up, we do need to realize that there's a lot of potential volatility here. Joe Biden is going to have a lot of mainstream neoliberal media support. Joe Biden, when it becomes clear that everybody else is sort of falling by the wayside, is going to become the key choice of the Democratic establishment, and they may try to line up behind him to defeat Bernie Sanders, to deny him an early victory and the momentum that comes with it. Because when you win Iowa, it's not a guarantee you'll win the primary, but my goodness, the winner of Iowa often does very, very well going forward because it signals that you have what it takes to win this primary and maybe win the election. But we have to realize that everybody else in this poll, besides Bernie and Biden, are below the 15-point threshold. And again, as I noted, that means that those people, when the first count is done, can go to another candidate if they so choose. Because if you're below 15, you get absolutely zero delegates in the caucus process. So with Klobuchar, Buttigieg, Warren, and all the single-digit candidates, they can't get a single delegate, and their people can go elsewhere. And in many ways, this could be the volatility that hurts Bernie Sanders. Bernie does have second-place support. He leads among Warren people in terms of second place. But Biden does better among Klobuchar and Buttigieg supporters in terms of second place. And so we have to be very careful that among second place redistribution, Bernie Sanders isn't edged by Joe Biden. So at this stage, it becomes imperative that you keep working. You keep making the phone calls, knocking the doors, reaching out to second place supporters, hammering the healthcare issue, which is so strong for Bernie and so important in Iowa. This is a time to be very proud of the work that's done and to acknowledge that Bernie Sanders is undeniably on a surge. But the contest isn't over. And ultimately, the volatility is very much evident. So keep your eye on the prize. And if you do, Bernie Sanders will win this caucus. He'll go on to win New Hampshire. And I really believe he'll go on to win the entire primary process.